Hi, my name is Tom, and I live in the sunny state of Arizona, a place that I've called home for pretty much my entire life. I wanted to share a story that happened to me that nearly screwed up my life forever. When I was 21 years old, I broke up with my first ever serious girlfriend, who I had been together with for 8 months. Needless to say, I was devastated by this. I fell into a deep depression, and I began abusing painkillers and Xanax really, really heavily. I also began looking for any chick that I could find to rebound with. At that point, I ended up looking on the personal section of Craigslist, and I found an ad for a girl named Stephanie. I began talking to her, and one night I arranged for her to come pick me up and hook up. That night, we had fun, and we mutually decided to make it a regular thing. She was a bit older than me, I'd say 35. She was a bigger girl, but she had her own apartment and enough money to keep me loaded on as many drugs and as much alcohol as I wanted. To be honest, I sort of used this lady as a sugar mama, for lack of a better term. After a while, she grew really, really attached to me and started to want more of a serious style relationship. Eventually, she started dropping hints about wanting to get married. She said she wanted to do this to help me out, so that she could get me onto her insurance and get me help for my drug and alcohol problem, which I promptly refused to consider. One day, we got into a big argument, and she told the police that I had been abusing her, and she filed a temporary restraining order on me. A week after she did this, she called my phone crying her eyes out, saying to please forgive her, that she loved me, and all this other stuff. She said that she wanted to come pick me up, get me some dope, some alcohol, and pick me up something to eat. Of course, being the addict that I am, I accepted. From the moment that she picked me up, I noticed that she was acting kind of odd. This woman was usually really talkative, and was always on my ass, wanting to talk to me about this and about that. But this particular day, she was oddly quiet. When we got back to her apartment, the moment after I walked in, she pushed me onto the couch, pulled my pants down, and began to have her way with me. Before she climbed on top of me, began riding me, and ultimately getting incredibly angry when I didn't finish the way that she wanted me to. I had been getting bad vibes from her the entire time that we were together that night. So after all of this happened, I immediately asked her for a ride back home, which she quickly agreed to. After I got dropped off at the house, I went inside and sat down with my younger sister to watch some SpongeBob with her. Well, after about 10 minutes of quiet, I get a call on the phone from a number that I don't recognize. I picked it up, and to my surprise, the lady on the other end of the line said that she was with the county police department and that they were going to need me to come outside to talk to them. I immediately ran downstairs, hid my weed and my pills, and then walked outside to figure out what the hell was going on. The moment that I walked outside, there were 7 different cops on my porch, and they were all pointing tasers and guns at me. One of them hit me in the back of my leg with a nightstick and put me on the ground before handcuffing me. The cops then talked to my mom, got permission to go inside the house, where they took a drug dog and began doing a thorough search of my room and the basement area. None of the cops on the scene would tell me what was going on whenever I would ask a question about why they were there. They just told me that I'd have to talk to the detective down at the station. Once I got to the police department, I had a bombshell dropped on me. Apparently, this lady Stephanie had accused me of kidnapping her and SAing her. She told the police that she had come by my house to return some of my stuff because we had just recently broken up, and that I had come out, held a knife to her throat, forced my way into her vehicle before taking her back to her apartment and viciously assaulting her repeatedly. Thankfully, I remembered that we had made a few stops on the way back to her apartment. She had gone inside a gas station to get a couple packs of cigarettes with me, so there was no way that I could have kidnapped her. the police still swabbed my junk for DNA. They also took my clothes for evidence, and I was forced to spend the night in the county jail, wearing nothing but hospital scrubs. I was released the next morning, but my ordeal was far from over. This lady began constantly stalking me. She would call me every night at odd hours from blocked numbers, either crying into the phone or begging me to talk to her. I also began seeing her vehicle quite a lot in the neighborhood, even though she lives nowhere close to me. I called the police about this a couple of times, but they didn't really seem to care, telling me that I'd have to go get a restraining order on her in order to make this stop. I wanted nothing to do with the court system, though, due to my own criminal record. I just decided to ignore her and hope that the problem would go away on its own. After a few months, she did stop bothering me as much. However, even now, I get calls at 2 or 3 in the morning from blocked numbers randomly. And every new girlfriend that I get, Stephanie messages them on Facebook, being sure to tell them how I had assaulted her. The moral of my story is to be careful who you meet online. Whether you're a guy or a girl, all it takes is one crazy person to completely ruin your life. I just moved into a new house over the weekend. Just paid my first month's rent and security deposit. I signed a year lease. The house itself is pretty okay, considering it was built nearly 100 years ago. Lots of work to be done on it, weird layout, unfinished porch. Okay, it's actually kind of a shitty house, but I had to take what I could get. When I saw the house posted on Craigslist, I immediately called the number listed and asked if I could view it that day or another day during the week. Right off the bat, the dude gives me a bad vibe. Not exactly creepy yet, but definitely annoying. We arranged to meet that Saturday so he could show me the inside of the house. He texted me every day leading up to it, multiple times, to quote, "Make sure you're absolutely certain you want to view the house, because I don't want my time wasted." I assure him several times that I literally live 5 minutes away, and I'll be there on Saturday, no doubt about it. I should mention, I found the house for me and my elderly father, who's in a wheelchair. When I got to the house Saturday, the landlord was out in the yard waiting with a huge smile on his face. I waved hello, and then went around to my passenger side door to help my father out of the car and into his chair. The landlord's face rapidly devolves into a scowl. As we approach him, my dad holds out his hand for a handshake. When the landlord looks at me and says, "I thought it was just you," while completely ignoring my father. I awkwardly try to explain that I didn't think to mention it, since he didn't ask. So he goes ahead and shows us the house. It's livable, so we give him the deposit then and there. All seems well. We moved in over the weekend, paid the rent on the subsequent Tuesday. The landlord told me that he would need access to the house today to do some plumbing work. I say, no worries, but I'll be at work, so I'll leave the key above the door. I typically get off at around 12:30, and I told him as such. When at around 10, he texted me again wanting me to confirm that I was absolutely not going to be there before 12:30 because of a safety hazard. I say yes, I'll be there a bit after 12:30. Well, I actually ended up getting off of work fairly early this day. I was headed home at around 11 and figured that I'd just pop my head in and tell the landlord I was here, but I would stay outside. Now, remember when I said that the layout of the house was weird? It's because the front door leads directly into a bedroom. This is my bedroom. There's another door to the left, and that's the living room, which leads into the kitchen and a back room/bathroom. So I turn the doorknob, and it's unlocked. When I walked in, all I see is my landlord hightailing it out of my room, through the living room, kitchen, back room, and out the back door. I then see his car race out of my driveway. Absolutely sketched out, I walk back into my bedroom, only to find my underwear drawer open and the contents strewn about. My nightstand was open too. I don't know what to do at this point because I'm kind of stuck here. It's hard to find housing with my credit, and even harder finding a place that is wheelchair accessible for my father. I'm so lost at what I should do that I'm opening this up to all the internet strangers out there. Advice, recommendations. Please share it all. Update. I want to start this out by thanking those of you that have reached out to me. Your support and guidance truly helped at a time where I was absolutely lost. Without going into too much detail, due to the fact that this situation is now pending litigation and potential criminal charges, I will confirm that my landlord was not in my room handling any plumbing. Rather, he was likely planting, adjusting, or collecting surveillance cameras. These trinkets were likely planted just a day before we moved in, and I happened upon them due to the fact that he fled from my room the way that he did when I had returned home from work. Going on advice that I received here, I picked up a few cameras of my own for documentation purposes and personal safety. We attached these outside of the front door, back door, and the street-facing windows on the property. It didn't take long for me to be glad that we took that step. Within 48 hours of putting them up, the cameras caught something that would have given me a heart attack in a movie, let alone happening in my own real life. At 2 a.m. one night, the camera right outside of the main door caught the landlord showing up to the property, walking right up to my bedroom window and attempting to peer in. It wasn't a momentary glance either. He stood pressed up against the window for a solid 10 minutes, looking about, around, and from multiple angles. Luckily, we weren't home at that time. I don't know what I would have done if I got that motion alert and someone was a mere inches and a pane of glass from my head. I've since retained a lawyer, turned over my footage, and we now await our next steps. With this footage in hand, my lawyer has pretty much assured me that things will go in my favor. I'm working on getting my father approved for disability, and several kind internet folks in my area have even offered us temporary and permanent housing. I cannot express enough to you guys just how thankful I am for all your help. Even the people commenting negative things. You all helped light a fire under my ass to be proactive. This is likely the only update that you're going to get of this story. Thank you for listening, and thank you even more if you were one of those that helped. The final selection for this episode is a misconnection post from the St. Louis, Missouri area, dating back to 2018. I don't have much context beyond what's shared within the posting, and while I'm not sure whether this falls strictly in the creepy category, I feel like it was worth sharing. I'll let you be the judge though, and be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Male for female, St. Louis. I'm looking for a woman that I met at our local Schnucks market. I first noticed you walking down the produce aisle. Beautiful blonde hair, light blue cardigan, pulled tight, a yellow floral dress cut above the knee. Not asking for attention, but wouldn't shy away from it if presented. I could work with that. You purposely brushed my arm as you reached for a head of lettuce. I could immediately feel the connection between us, like a spark that had been there for 100,000 years. You responded, "Oh, pardon me." No need to be coy, dear. I know you just wanted to feel your skin against mine. I could hear the want in your voice. I should have just taken your hints and initiated conversation right then and there, but I decided to play it safe. I looked into your angelic blue eyes and murmured the only thing I could muster: no worries. And there will never be any worries when we're together. As you pulled away to continue your shopping, you flipped your hair and I caught a smell of lavender. I never knew how much that smell enticed me until this day. It became my favorite smell in the entire world. I paced you through the rest of your shopping trip, far enough not to be noticed, trying to decide if I should capitalize on your advances and introduce myself. But before I could build up the courage, you were in the checkout line. I cut my own shopping short so I could get in the lane next to you. I just needed to be close to you, not blow my chance that you've set up for me, and try to get close enough to smell you once again. The checkout guy was making small talk, being vaguely flirty. I couldn't believe the fucking nerve of this guy. Flirting with you, my love, my life, right in front of me. It took everything I had not to tear his goddamn voice box out right there in aisle 6. But I kept my cool, and the encounter was quickly fleeting. We walked out of the market at the same time, you acting like you didn't notice me, playing hard to get. So cute. You parked your blue PT Cruiser 3 cars down from mine. What a coincidence. Maybe you knew it was my car and wanted me to notice. Maybe it was fate. I followed you the entire 7.8 miles to your neighborhood. You live in a modest little bi-level, the last house on a dead-end road. I simply had to talk to you. I couldn't let this opportunity pass. I built up the nerve to ring the doorbell, but much to my surprise, a young girl of about 10 answered the door. I knew she had to be yours. She was a spitting image of you. She's going to grow into a beautiful woman someday. I'm certain of this. I ask if her mother's home, and as she turns to go fetch you, I sprint down the street as to not be seen. I chickened out yet again. The idea of you having a daughter has brought up so many questions, love. Are you married? Do you love someone else aside from me? That's supposed to be our daughter, our house. How could you let some other man be that intimate with you behind my fucking back? The thoughts dissipate as I see you come to the front porch and look around. You act as if you don't see me, but I know you do. The way you hike up your skirt, just an inch, as you climb the stairs, lets me know you know what I want. I couldn't get the nerve to go back to the door, so I returned the next morning. As I sit in my car with the sun rising behind me, I see the porch light flip on, and out you come to start your car, wearing nothing but a bathrobe. Is this for me? Did you know I was going to be there? An apology for relationships that should have been mine? It was just a few seconds, but seeing what you decided to show me, I couldn't help but relieve myself to you, right there in my car. I'm sure that this is what you wanted. I'm catching on to your little game, so I'm going to add a stipulation of my own. As I'm not sure you read Craigslist, I'll throw out another way of getting into contact with me. I know the sexual chemistry is there. I know the want is there. If you want me as much as I want you, wear that blue cardigan. I'll take that as my sign, as my green light, and I'll rush you back into your house and do all the things that you've been begging me to do to you through all of your little nuances. The blue cardigan. I'll be watching. XO, XO.